Hello and welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point. Another impressive outing for the Steelers in their second preseason game. Here's a look from Mitch Trubisky finding Connor Haywood in the end zone for the last score of the evening for the Steelers. They would go on top of the Bills tonight in a very impressive win for sure. Now, there were so many positives from this game, Max. I don't know how you choose just one, but what was your main takeaway?
Well, the ones look like ones. I think that's what we saw. Another fast start for this offense. That's 2 weeks in a row. Remember last season, we went 14 games in the drought. So to have two quick starts like they did was truly amazing. Defense, once again, also stepping up, serving a 3-and-out on the opening drive for the opposite team.
Well, it's time now to check in with our Missy Matthews, who has our Ticketmaster postgame interview. You can grab your tickets through Ticketmaster, the official ticket place of the NFL. Grab your tickets at ticketmaster.com/Steelers. Missy?
Hey, Jay, thanks so much. I'm here with Jaylen Warren, and take me through the 62-yard touchdown.
I mean, we practice that every day, so it was like, it was blocked up just like how we chalked it, and it happened, trusted my O-line, credit to my O-line, they're the reason it happened. And, credit to the receiver for going in and making that block. Without those blocks, I wouldn't have got that.
You said you do it in practice, but to do it in a game against the Bills starters, what does that mean?
It means a lot. It's cool to do it, but obviously we have the season to look forward to. So, it was cool when it happened in the moment, but for now, on to the next.
Building from Tampa Bay to this game, where do you see the offense at right now?
I feel like we're doing pretty good. I see it in camp. I see it every day. So as long as we keep stacking these bricks, we're good.
All right, Jaylen, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks so much, Missy. Again, so many highlights from this game. We could fill this entire post-game show with highlights.
Yes.
But let's go now to our Pella Windows game summary to show you some breakdowns of just what the Steelers were able to do this evening. A lot of things on the positive side for them. Kenny Pickett, 3 for 4, 43 yards and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren, who just heard from, 62 yards and touchdown. Defense, though, 4 turnovers. Max, what a statement there.
That is a huge statement, and back-to-back weeks you have multiple turnovers for this team. Now, I know last week it was only 1 touchdown, but it was 2 fourth-down stops. And today, 3 different defensive backs get a turnover by interception. Tanner Muse gets the fumble recovery, which makes it 4. Joey Porter Jr.'s was probably one of the most impressive because this is a young guy. We've been waiting to see when he was going to have his debut. You get it at home in Acrisure. Your dad's in the audience. You're able to make that play early in the game, and then you get to go hand the game ball off, or the interception ball off to your dad. It was just really awesome to see how fluid this group looked. They looked like they carried everything from last season into this season. You saw the yards after catch. You have an explosive play on offense, but defense, that was a key. Joey Porter, the first snap, he was actually lined up in what we call base. He had a great coverage on Gabe Davis, and then he just had some great moments. Making that type of play in the second quarter was a huge play for him, and we see senior to junior and junior to senior. You can see the passing of the torch for this team, and that's awesome. As a friend and teammate of Joey Porter Sr., to see Junior doing it and then to be able to hand that ball up to his dad. I know it's the preseason, but that's a huge confidence builder when you're talking about Mike Tomlin coming into this, wanting to see what 24 could do, and that just bolsters your secondary.
In his debut at that. Yes. We're going to have so much more on the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point coming up next, including more from Mike Tomlin. You want to stick with us. The Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point is brought to you in part by Comcast Business, powering possibilities, and by Pella. Visit PellaPittsburgh.com. And it's a beautiful night here in Pittsburgh where the Steelers put on an impressive fireworks-like performance. We hear the fireworks behind us here, beating the Bills 27-15. Max, defense was key in this one. You mentioned the interceptions. Joey Porter Jr., Elijah Riley, another guy that came up big. Talk more about that pressure the D-line was able to generate, as well as in the secondary, getting those interceptions.
Well, what was great was we saw the starters in this matchup. So we saw T.J. Watt, we saw Cam Hayward, we saw Minkah Fitzpatrick in the lineup. And so that pressure against a quality quarterback in Josh Allen was huge. The Elijah Riley tip pass from Cole Holcomb dumping it up in the air. And then, of course, Joey Porter Jr. getting his turnover. And then Chandon Sullivan, another one. He tips his own pass to himself for the interception. And it was just the tenacity of this defense the entire day, getting in the backfield, causing problems there. Tanner Muse jumping on top of the fumble that was forced by Nick Herbig off the edge. It was just one of those things that was suffocating. When you think about last year, the Buffalo game in Buffalo, how bad that game turned out and how fast the Buffalo Bills jumped on the Steelers in their stadium. This was kind of a little bit of get back because those starters that were out there remembered that game. They were on the field for it. So for them to have this opportunity to jump on top of the Bills, I thought was a really good sign when you're talking about building continuity and building chemistry as a unit. You saw all three phases had significant plays in this game, but defense definitely started it early, and they did it often.
Absolutely, especially since you said last year that Bills game, day and night tonight.
Yes.
And also what we saw last week and this week and overheard was Nick Herbig. That name over and over again. What else can you say about the rookie?
This rookie's making all of the moves that you want to see for a young guy that was not expected to play, talked his way into the game last week, was only supposed to play special teams, got 10 snaps and was causing disruptions. Well, fast forward a week, same result. He's in there on defense. He knocked the ball loose in that situation, and Nick Herbig was all over the field. He was making plays. He was putting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, no matter who was back there. He was back there against Josh Allen. He was back there against Matt Barkley, and he just kept coming on. You see him stacking and stacking. Alex Highsmith talked about it in his interview with Missy Matthews, just about how you're watching him, how you're always in his ear rooting for him. And there's something about Wisconsin pass rushers that seems to have a propensity out here in Western PA to really do well. And Nick Herbig's just the next in the line of great Wisconsin pass rushers playing with the black and gold.
Well, I want to switch things to the other side of the ball. Intangibles obviously very important, and often unsung are the O-line.
Yes.
The Steelers were able to score 2 touchdowns in the first 5 minutes of this game, but it was great protection, obviously, for Kenny Pickett.
Yes. This offensive line is doing a great job. When you look at the maturation, Dan Moore came in to this season knowing he had to fight against Roderick Jones, and 65 has delivered that entire time. Isaac Siamalo at the left guard position has been a stabilizing force, a vet that comes in technically sound, smart, physical, and tough to go along with last year's transplants in Mason Cole and James Daniels. And then, of course, Chuks Okorafor just keeps doing Chuks things. He's solidified that right tackle position and has been a lot of comfort. What I've loved to see more of is that second unit. Keep coming along, guys. Broderick Jones is having a good start. He's making an incremental progress. But once again, he's in an oven, not a microwave, which I think is a good thing. When you know that the starting left tackle is doing well, you can now groom your first-round draft pick so he's not forced into the fire right out the gates. So I really like the rotation of this team and where we're at. I just want to get Nate Herbig back healthy. He was missing tonight, but he's a guy that you look to bolster the interior of this offensive line and be a quality backup.
As a former player, you know how this league is such a fraternity, and this was a very special night for another Pittsburgh kid, Damar Hamlin.
Yes.
Who, we haven't seen as of yet, but he made his debut last week for his first preseason game. McKees Rocks, Central Catholic guy, Pitt guy. What was that like for you? You were down on the field for him having his debut here.
It was an emotional moment. I mean, anytime you can come home and play a game, and as a guy who got to do that myself, it's a special moment. You see him sharing that moment with Coach Tomlin, who's been here for 17 years, so he's seen this kid when he was at Central Catholic and watched him play at Pitt. So for him to make the miraculous comeback that he did, and then I saw him on the sideline make a couple plays, ran Mason Rudolph out. It was just an awesome moment to really see those guys embrace it, see him competing out here on this field, considering what we knew about last year in Cincinnati.
Obviously, Kenny Pickett has a very close relationship with him, as well as Mike Tomlin. But let's now go to our JP Roofing stats of the game. Comparing rushing yards, Steelers on top there, 121-72. Passing yards, not so much, but they made an early impression. The fireworks were early. They didn't have to keep that up. Third down conversions, about 50% there. Turnovers, only 1. That was the big story of the game, forcing those turnovers against Buffalo. And penalties really hurt Buffalo as well early on. Your thoughts on those?
Penalties is the one that jumps out the first. I mean, it was undisciplined nature when it happens in pre-snap situations, and over half of those were pre-snap, whether it was a false start, whether it was a legal formation, whether it was holding or whatever else. That's what they need to clean up, but the Steelers did a great job on their part not doing it.
Well, right now we have Mike T at the podium.
You know, some good things to be excited about from a performance perspective, and It was going pretty well. That's why we got the first units out of the game relatively early. But also, we got a 5-day turnaround, and so those guys get an opportunity to play again here in a short period of time. And so they did enough, man, to check the boxes, if you will, for week 2 of the preseason. And because week 3 is coming so quickly, we moved on, got some exposure to some other people, and and so I'm appreciative of that. When the first units operate the way that they operate, it really provides a platform for others to show their skills. Tanner Morgan got an opportunity to play, and that's not a given this time of year. And really it's because of the efficiency of the first groups. I thought the guys were engaged. I thought they did some fundamental things well that makes them a tough team to beat. I didn't think we were highly penalized. I thought we largely maintained possession of the ball, those type things. We played the field position game. We kept them on the long field with our midfield punting. But there's a lot to be learned and a lot to be taught at this stage of the journey. And we have to do it extremely quickly this week because it's just a quick transition. We'll be wheels up here in a short number of days. And again, we expect to play everyone that's available to us, and particularly the starters. And so that's why we proceeded in the manner in which we did tonight, having an opportunity to tee up this next one on the road. I'll pause and open up for questions. Very little injury things to speak of. That's a fortunate thing. We probably limited Joey Porter at the end in an effort to prepare him to get him in the next stadium, because he's been practicing on a limited basis, as you guys know, those that have been following us at training camp. And so we wanted to get him work not only tonight, but we just think it's important to get him in as many environments in preparation for the regular season. And so we wanted to work him as much as we could work him tonight without absorbing too much negativity from a health standpoint, in an effort to get him back into that stadium in 4 or 5 days. And so we'll see where that leads us.
Mike, you encouraged by the efficiency of your first team offense you've seen in 2 games and the splash plays you're getting, explosive plays?
I like the fact that we're getting some splash, but it's just not a large enough sample size. But that's the thing that we all battle this time of year. It's a limited sample size. If you're looking to feel good, you can find it. But I don't know that I or we are looking to feel good. We're just working, and we're gonna keep it moving and get ready for this next one next week.
What do you think of Joey in his first tape?
Again, we can't get him enough snaps. We'll be working our tails off to make up for last week's missed opportunity. And so I like some of the things that he did, but boy, we got to see a lot more. He has to see a lot more. There's no substitute for snap exposure.
Mike, what did you like from your young guys? You see Herbig tonight, JPJ, and just how they've handled their early season situations here.
They're playing with energy and emotion, and I know it seems like nothing, but when you're a young guy and you lack experience and you're worried about assignments and environmental things, it is a tough task to play with energy and emotion. And I see a lot of our young guys doing that. And I think when you do that, you really just provide an edge for yourself that probably allows you to make the splash plays. They're playing fast and fluid and with emotion, and that shows me that they know what they're doing. And so those are just good signs. I am always looking for emotion from young guys, because that's just more than anything, unless you know that they're comfortable and they know what they're doing.
Mike, what is it about Jaylen Warren? Of course, you saw it last year, but that he does it when he touches the football. He makes positive yards.
He's built for the game. He's got a natural base about him, man. He's tough to get on the ground. He's competitive. But he's just a young guy that's working to get better. He brings that every day.
Great stuff there by Mike T. And coming up next on the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, we'll hear from the guys in the booth, Bob and Charlie, coming up next. The Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point is brought to you in part by Gone by Dick's Sporting Goods.
El pase interceptado, pero qué mal pase el de Barkley. La lleva hasta la yarda 26 en esta intercepción. Joey Porter, hijo. Bienvenido a la NFL, Junior.
¿Qué clase de error por parte de Matt Barkley?
That's great stuff there by Alvaro Martin and his color man Arturo Carlos, who call every game in Spanish for Steelers.com. You know, Max, I'm sure you know the international appeal of Steelers. Is it ever, surprising to you just how worldwide this franchise is?
No, it's no surprise when you think about our Hispanic population and the following for the Steelers. I had a chance to go down for the Steelers Business Summit and actually go to Mexico City and actually talk to some of our partners down there. And the fervor and the love for the Steelers, or the Jugadores de Aceros, is how it's called in Spanish. It is amazing. It's tremendous. You can feel the passion. And Alvaro and Arturo, two of the best to do it, man. I love listening to their broadcast. And we'll have a Spanish watch party down in Mexico during the Las Vegas Raiders week. When we go to Las Vegas, they'll be there broadcasting live from Mexico City.
I love it. Me gusta mucho. Well, time now to turn it back to the guys who called the game tonight, Bob Pompeani and Charlie Batch. Guys, what stood out most to you tonight about the Steelers' performance?
Well, first of all, Max, I thought that was a tremendous.
That was impressive.
Bit of language there. I love it. The only thing I know is Cerveza. We're in need of one up here, so maybe that'll be next. But Charlie, I don't know about you, but this defense. So you could talk a lot about the quick strike of the offense and everything that happened with Kenny Pickett, who was efficient, with Jaylen Warren, with the blocking, the offensive line. But, man, when you create 4 turnovers, you're going to win a lot of football games.
And this is what they're striving to do. I mean, this is something offensively you don't want to turn the football over, but they believe firmly that this defense is going to be something special. You talk to Cam Hayward, you talk to Minka Fitzpatrick, they're telling you, hey, we can make some noise, and they're showing it. 4 turnovers today, and it's exactly what they're trying to do, get their offense a short field so they can punch it in the manner that they did.
Charlie, I've got to ask you, we looked at that side for Buffalo, but what about the Steelers quarterbacks and not giving the ball up and their performance? How do you analyze their performances this evening as you look at it?
Yeah, it starts with Kenny Pickett, and is one of those things, especially when you're a young quarterback and the Bills in the preseason game defer and give you the ball back. They don't think that you're going to actually go down and score. Kenny's able to put a drive together. Yeah, Jaylen Warren was able to go down and score in the manner that he is, but Kenny is delivering the ball where he needs to be. And then ultimately, short field, able to punch it in one play. I love what Kenny is at. Mr. Trubisky, he's a backup. He solidified that. But the experience that they have in this quarterback room is something that really is special, and it's a delicate situation. But when you are, and I've been in rooms where the experience is needed, and everybody feeds off of that. And that's what you're seeing right now in this quarterback room.
Plus, it's just ownership of the group. I mean, he came into the season knowing there was no controversy. He was the man, and he has just taken that by the horns. I mean, it seems like everyone on this team loves him, respects him, wants to work for him and with him. That's not easy to achieve for a second-year player.
It's not, but also think of how delicate the situation is. Mr. Trubisky was a starter last year, and now all of a sudden had to accept the backup role, and you now want to keep that chemistry going. Those guys are blending beautifully right now. Add Mason Rudolph to the equation, and that's something that's a win-win situation for the quarterback room.
Thanks, guys. We're going to go to Kenny Pickett now, who's at the podium.
Kenny, there's been a lot of criticisms of the offense last year, but you guys came out and scored. The first team came out and scored twice pretty quickly tonight. What have you seen from some of the newer guys, and even like a guy like Calvin who was here last year but didn't play?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of new guys on the team that bring a lot of different aspects to the offense. I think you're starting to see it throughout preseason, and Calvin's definitely one of the guys that put a lot of work in this offseason, and I think we're doing a good job of getting the ball in space, and he did a great job in the return game to set us up for that touchdown, that second touchdown. So can't say enough good things about the new guys on our team.
It looked like there was a third down that you completed a pass to Robinson, I think, before the long run. It looked like they showed you single and then shifted right into cover 2 just before the snap. Did you catch that and react to it, or did it just work out that way?
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting cover 2. It was a good call into that. Allen did a great job of finding the zone, and we picked up the first down, and obviously Jalen did the rest after that. So it was a good sequence for us.
What is it about Jalen that when he touches the ball, he always seems to make good things happen?
Yeah, I think there's some guys that just have a knack for making plays, and Jalen's one of them. I think his toughness, his speed, the different aspect, it's kind of like thunder and lightning with him and Najee. I think those two have a really good balance off each other. They both do great things. They both do things differently, and it's great to kind of have that combination in the backfield.
I feel like that's one of the things Allen can really bring to the table in terms of
knowing where the sticks are, finding holes in zones, things like that?
Yeah, it's something that stuck out to me day one, just his IQ and his understanding of, defense and offensive football, knowing when to sit in zones, run versus man, all those types of things that get you open on third down and in the red zone. Allen does a really good job of.
Kenny Pickett and company putting on a show tonight for Steelers fans. We're going to have much more on this neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point coming up next. NFL Plus is here, which means no matter where you are, this is how you football. Go to plus.nfl.com and start your free trial of NFL Plus today. Time now to take another look at some of our viewers' thoughts on who was the player of the game tonight. These are presented by Pepsi. CT Pittman said JPJ balled out. And CD Bartlett says Jaylen Warren only because he started the action. He did for sure. And Presto says, so many young pieces arriving in front of our eyes. It is really exciting to see this young group of guys coming into action here. Now let's go to Missy Matthews here, who is with Calvin Austin postgame.
All right, Calvin, last week, touchdown. This week, a nice punt return. What has this been like for you after missing last year?
It's been fun just to be out there playing with the guys, just about stacking days, stacking practices, and just to come out here and just to compete in front of the fans and stuff has been fun.
Who was more excited about the punt return, Danny Smith or Mike Tomlin?
I'm not sure. I think they were kind of, both, expecting me to do what I did. So, it's not really anything too crazy. It's just one return. So it's just about continuing to stack days and performances.
What do you like about this offense right now?
I just like how everybody is just it's very team oriented, and I think guys are kind of like finding out their roles and stuff and are kind of honing into them, and everyone on the offense definitely wants to see everybody else succeed. And so when you have guys like that, it just makes the whole offense flow better, because you got the us receivers want to block for the running backs want to hold up in pass protection, and it's just all of us coming together to do our job for each other.
All right, well, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, AJ, back to you.
Thanks so much, Missy. Time now to turn to our Unibet Yins Chat predictions. I think they were a little easy this week, Max. I'm not going to give you too much of a hard time. Steelers defensive turnovers over under 1.5. That was pretty easy. They had 2 in the first half.
Yeah, it was one that I am happy to say that I'm now 2-0 in the Stat Trivia, because the last couple of years I've been terrible at it. So I'm ecstatic about my 2-0 start.
2-0. I'm going to give you Powerball numbers, or ask you for Powerball numbers next time if you're the good luck charm. We got much more coming up on the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point. Stick with us. Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point. We've been asking you all evening, who is the top performer from this game? Max, what do you think about some of these answers we're getting from the fans?
Well, I love the involvement. In fact, Pittsburgh gave us like 4, and then he said the entire defense, then he gave us 11. But I have to agree, I love the Elijah Ryland one, because he's stacking games. Last week, he made a presence in special teams and on defense, and today, of course, coming up with the big tip interception in the end zone.
Well, Max, now we want to talk about another guy on defense that always makes a big presence for sure. 90, TJ Watt. He's standing by at the podium.
TJ, in terms of potential preseason tests, feels like Allen, Diggs, like that's a very representative group there. How do you feel like you guys faced, given that level of competition?
Yeah, I thought we did well. There's always going to be things that we can improve on, but to be able to go up against ones-on-ones for whatever reps it was, 8 or 12 reps, was good to get the action, and I feel like we performed well, but haven't taken a look at the film yet.
You look at some of the young guys playing tonight. Mike talked about the emotion and energy they played with. What did you see out of some of the young guys, Joey, Nick, and those guys when they did their first action?
Yeah, it's awesome to see those guys be able to play here at Acrisure in front of the Steeler Nation. Always bringing the juice to be able to play. I mean, the fans did an incredible job of making it loud for the defense out there, and awesome to see those guys be able to make big-time plays and provide energy to the group.
Obviously, it's very early, but if Nick continues to look this good, what can that additional depth behind you do for you and Alex in terms of just being fresh in the fourth quarter and over the course of the season?
Yeah, it's huge. I think Marcus looked good tonight, too. I think just as edge rushers in this defense, we can't play 100% of the snaps. So to be able to have guys that we trust that can make plays when we're not in there, when we're sitting on the sidelines, getting gas back up to go back in is huge for our defense. So I like the way that our room is shaping out.
How have you seen Nick progress from OTA?
All right, Max, as we look ahead to the Steelers' final preseason game against the Falcons, how do you temper expectations? Because I'm sure fans want to say after these first two, hey, we're on a roll.
Well, the biggest thing is consistency at this point. You have to make sure that you're continually doing the things that you've done in the previous weeks and added a little bit more. And so this will be the first test for the Steelers. They have 2 Thursday night games this season. So to have this kind of short week practice for them, I think is a really good test when you're talking about building for the health of your team and being able to move forward on short notice.
When you say a short week, what other adjustments might they need to make?
It's just one of those things. You have to be able to hydrate and you have to be able to take care.
All right. Well, that'll do us for the Neighborhood Sports Store Steelers Extra Point. We want to thank the staff of the Steelers as well as players, everybody who has contributed to this production tonight, our producer, our director. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.